you share a similar experience with me. I got cancelled for saying what was on my mind, and so did you. Tell me a little bit about your cancellation.
Okay, Nick, my cancellation started, it came in 2020. So do you remember J.K. Rowling put out a an article where she was basically saying we've defending biological sex, that there are women and there are two genders, and basically sort of she was basically concerned about trans activism and all the rest of it. Anyway, so I, having not been on Twitter that much for various reasons, because I lost my husband at the end of 2018 and I hadn't really been doing much, I sort of went, oh, and obviously we had the beginning of the COVID nonsense. Then I tweeted my support for J.K. Rowling, and that afternoon I got a phone call from my agent. I missed the call. Then I rang back, never got an answer, and then never heard from them again.
That afternoon, so within a couple of hours.
A couple of hours of tweeting this, the my agent had, as a lot of showbiz, as you know, a lot of people in the arts are so ingrained in this woke Maoist nonsense, this ideology, that they were sort of, it's like they were sort of primed to go, oh, who's, oh no, Abi said something. I have to say, Nick, I also was very critical of BLM on I mean, so it was the double whammy. It was J.K. Rowling calling BLM a Marxist organisation who would be dangerous to black people first and foremost, and would not be good news for them. And of course, I was called all sorts on Facebook. I was vilified. I was, even when I quoted Martin Luther King, one of his great speeches he did at Philadelphia School, which is, I think it's called "What is the Blueprint for Your Life?" One of his lesser known speeches. Honestly, people were saying to me, "But Martin Luther King isn't relevant anymore." I was like, "Sorry, have I just landed in cloud cuckoo land?" So that was me. It was over.
For BLM, he isn't relevant because he would not have supported BLM.
No, no way.
We know what he wanted. He wanted a fair world. He didn't want black power to rise to replace white power, or black nationalism to replace white nationalism. He didn't want one type of evil to replace another type of evil, because what he left with, you're still left with evil. He wanted, and he was a preacher. But again, all these new organizations have nothing in common with the heroes of the past, such as Gandhi. Gandhi is vilified now as a racist, as this, as that. So is Martin Luther King. And that should tell us a lot about these new organisations. Hence, I mean, it was only a few years ago Winston Churchill was named the greatest Briton ever. He's now classed as racist and evil. It's like, how far have we fallen?
Yes, exactly. How far have we fallen? That, I mean, I was, the marches that happened in 2021. Well, end of 2020 and 21. Against all the lockdowns, all the rest of it, and the awful misery that they've criminality, in my view. I saw the police standing around Winston Churchill and sort of protecting him. And I remember doing a little video and saying, "Look, this man pushed out fascism. So all this curtailment of our civil liberties." And obviously, things like, when BLM actually back in 2021, they were defacing monuments. So that form of fascism, we're experiencing it again in many forms. Fascism / communism, whatever you want to call it. I'm pushing it back, and I just remember thinking, this is so weird that I'm having to restate Winston Churchill's position. It felt very odd, like we've fallen, exactly like you said. How far have we fallen?
Yeah, I mean, it's some of these organisations, well, they can today, but 2 years ago they could not have been criticised. Again, as you know, my story, sacked from the charity I founded for basically saying what BLM had put on their website. I was called a Nazi, a racist. Same thing happened to you, and I didn't get into the trans thing at that point. I was just, because BLM were trying to destroy the family, and I've spent 20 years trying to get more men to take responsibility of their children and be in the home and be fathers. That's why I spoke out, because that was directly ruining all the work I'd been doing for 20 years. And I thought people need to know about this. And that's why I spoke up. I didn't expect to be cancelled. I thought I was untouchable. I didn't even expect a storm. I expected some nasty tweets, but who cares? But I did not see my cancellation coming, because if I did, would I have pressed that enter button on the keyboard? And even today, I don't know if I'd have done it, because it changed my life completely. I'm glad I did it. I'm happy I did it. But if I'd have known then, would I have done it? And I really don't know, because am I that brave? So the question to you is, would you still have sent that tweet out in support of what J.K. Rowling wrote, with everything that's happened in the last 2 years?
I think yes, I would. I was thinking this about myself recently. Is I think I've always been not. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you look back and you think it's hindsight's 2020 vision, isn't it? I think the stakes are so high with what's going on that it's absolutely worth pulling the pin out of a grenade and throwing it, because we've got too much to lose. We've got too much to lose. So I think
almost every week now it comes out that we're being proven right now. Almost every BLM now are discredited. It was a scam. The frauds, the criminals. You know, you look at the chapters in America. Some have been arrested for paedophilia, for fraud, for gang violence, for murder, for rape, drug smuggling. You look at the three leaders, multimillionaires buying mansions, tens of millions of dollars missing. So they're discredited. And you look at the trans movement now. Mermaids have done us all a favour by taking the LGB to court, the LBG Alliance to court, because that allowed everybody else then to look at mermaids, and you see what's coming out of there, and it's like, they're done as a charity. They just don't know they're done, but they're done.
Yes, thank God. Mermaid. I mean, it almost, there's so much that I'm putting fires out every day, as I'm sure you are. Various things, like, you know, with it just seems like authoritarianism of the, and I've always been of the view that it's leftist. It's very definitely from the left. This seemingly, you know, oh, let's everyone get on together, and let's all kind of this this sort of everyone sort of under the same umbrella. This I call it communitarianism. You know, where everyone's just like herded into these, one size fits all, and the mermaids are they should all be arrested. The people that run that charity, and Peter Tatchell, people like him, are dangerous men. They're dangerous because they are saying, you've heard him, like, I'm sure, a few times saying, oh, but children should be, it's the right thing to do for them to be able to choose to basically at an age where they have no idea about what their what's the word, their preference might be, their sexuality, to have puberty blockers, chest binding. Well, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgraceful. And children are being thrown under the bus every day. For, doing this.
Completely agree. Completely agree. A compassionate society protects the vulnerable. Children are vulnerable just by the fact that they're called children. That's why we have adults. That's why we have, safeguarding officers, because children, and we do not trust children to make sensible decisions. That's why they can't smoke or drink until they're 18. That's why we don't allow them to vote, but we allow them to make these life-changing decisions on the whim because it's fashionable, and we call that compassion. It's not compassion. It's child abuse.
It is, absolutely 100% agree. And if I hear Peter effing Tatchell say once more, oh, but it is reversible. I mean, the evil is beyond comprehension. That this, you remember women and children first. Remember that old saying, like on Titanic, on the ships, that was the duty of men to protect women and children. And people like Peter Tatchell, I'm afraid, they're fueling child abuse. What's going on?
I'm glad you've said women and children first, because what most people don't understand is it was the men who shouted that. It wasn't the women and the children.
Yes,
The men would
correct.
shout women and children first, and they would hold other men back because, as a man, one of our duties is to protect the tribe and protect our family. We risk our lives every day to make sure society is safe for women and children. And the reason why we've got this nonsense today is because we've got a deficit of real English men now, because we've over feminized them and we've turned them into inferior versions of women. And who wants to be an inferior version of anything? If we had real men like we did 50 years ago, we wouldn't have the grooming gang scandal because English men would have sorted those perverts out. We wouldn't have men going into women's changing rooms and into toilets because real men would have sorted that out. And all we've got now is soy drinking men going, oh, just be kind and be compassionate. But do you know what? When the evil horde come to the gate and all we've got is weak men, believe me, the biggest victims of that, the people who'll be raped and murdered, will be the women and the children.
Yes.
That's who will suffer when you
Yeah.
only have weak men. And we need to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. What we've seen happen over the last 20 plus years, and with successive, I have to say, the so-called conservatives haven't done anything about it either. They've just sat, twiddling their thumbs. Is just with Tony Blair was what was really when the gates opened, the floodgates opened. He let everyone in so he could get the votes. And what we're seeing now with multiculturalism is the subjugation of our morals, of our values, exactly like you said, the ability for people to stand up and say, no, this isn't going to happen in our country. And why? This is the weird thing. Why would anyone want it to happen? Surely the left, must be the progressive left, want to preserve their country, don't they? And their families, and it's so weird.
You would think they would because of all the benefits they get. And I don't even put the blame at the feet of Tony Blair. I think Tony Blair just took it to the next step. This has been going on since post-World War II.
Right.
This has been a very slow process. But certain points it's been ramped up, and Tony Blair ramped it up. But I wouldn't, I don't like Tony Blair, but I wouldn't put all the blame.
Wouldn't put all the Maybe you're right that it was almost like it sort of sped up with him. But you're right that I think, and it's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's again, as you get older, your perspective change. But the 60s, the sort of progressiveness, let's just all let everything hang out, and feminism. Actually, weirdly,
let's have feminism because feminism would be wonderful for women. And all the reports now actually say from the 50s to today, women's happiness is declining every decade. They get more freedom, more financial responsibility, everything they think they want, and their happiness is going down and down and down. Men's is staying the same, by the way. Women's is going down because it's the Midas touch. What you think will make you happy doesn't always make you happy. It can kill you. And feminism is killing women.
Yes, I absolutely agree.